Thank you, Apos. The pulse of the young seafarers. I've got a pretty interesting topic to discuss today. And how do we embrace the technological evolution that is hitting us across the industry? Now, just to give you some idea of the demographics, 1.9 million seafarers worldwide, 1.2 million between the ages of 20 to 40. So these are the Gen Zs and the young millennials we are talking about. Understanding their thought process has got tangible benefits, commercial benefits, and not understanding them has got equally bad consequences. Let me give you an example. We were working with a company that had a ship in Rotterdam, and post-trade inspection was expected on board. We had asked the master to confirm. The master had confirmed that everything was all right, there was no problem. Now, this ship was following a process which we implemented where we divide the vessel into certain physical areas and sections, and we implemented some digital tools to that were implemented on board. Now, the third officer on board, who was 23 at the time, pointed out that there was a crack in the rescue boat at the point where you tighten up the lashings. Now, this is a very common area to have a crack. A couple of days later, the post-trade inspectors came, and there was really nothing to explain because we had workshops on board, we had repairs going on. So we avoided a detention, and for a ship that is earning $80,000 a day, a detention is pretty serious. But we also very effectively proved that we had managed to create a culture on the ship so that junior officers come forward, and juniors, essentially the young millennials, are prepared to come forward. So our work for the last couple of years has been to work with the compliance departments, the vetting departments, the HSEQ departments of the companies, and assist them with digital scalable tools that improve inspection results, but more importantly, improve the organic condition of the vessels very organically. And in the process, we found that having a deep empathy for the seafarers, understanding the pulse of the young generation of seafarers is not just a good idea, it has tangible commercial benefits, it can boost safety, but also make the ships more viable. We had books written on that, we have research papers published on this topic, and so on and so forth. So that's the topic I'm going to discuss today. And during the process, I want to bust a few myths and essentially, probably, hopefully by the end of the session, change a couple of things that we otherwise think. Now, it's not uncommon. We all know that they are digital natives. They swipe before they write. They feel comfortable interacting, building relationships online. They're global citizens. They wish to stay connected online. We know this. Also, another thing, they are extremely visual communicators. The younger generation, essentially, especially the Gen Zs, are extremely visual communicators. Even us, for that matter. Think about this. Your phone, every app on your phone, every website you're interacting with, even a brochure that you will probably get during the session is trying to capture your attention in some way or the other through audio-visual means. There's audio-visual content everywhere. In the process, what has happened is that the appeal and the demand for text-based instruction has gone down. Which brings me to my first myth, is that we feel text-based instructions are the only way to do things. Think of all the checklists, the PMS guidance, SMS guidance, safety circulars, vetting bulletins, so on and so forth. Essentially, a lot of text-based content that is placed on board to read and for the seafarers to perform in a certain way. If you have ever complained that they are not being as effective as you might think, things are not going to change for the better. So my suggestion is, please think of going audio-visual on content. When I say this, we have actually procedures to do that, we can discuss that, but as much as we can go audio-visual, the acceptability will be far, far better. Now, another interesting thing that happened over the last couple of years, and this is not just for the young millennials or the Gen Zs, it's true for probably most of us in this room, is the need for validation and self-image, the need for constant validation. Every blue tick on your WhatsApp, every comment on your Facebook post, every like on your Instagram reels, they are giving you this small dose of dopamine, making you feel validated, making you feel appreciated. And this is a very, very impactful thing. It has been going on, and it's so powerful, in fact, that people suffer from trauma for lack of validation. You'll hear things like cyberbullying, FOMO. I believe everybody knows what is FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. And Consequently, if you have a teenage son or daughter, by a show of hands, how many here has a teenage son or daughter at home? Okay, great. So I believe you'll agree with me that your son or daughter is more likely to ask the internet for a certain answer before they come to you for that answer. So the question is that why are they shy of asking questions, and why are they more comfortable finding that out themselves? Something to think about, right? They are also more empowered to raise their voices when needed, and they prefer authenticity. Now, there's a lot of fake content around them. There's a lot of fake content on the internet. Authentic content engages, and we have become more and more perceptive towards authentic content. Which brings me to my second myth, and we must understand the sense of it. The myth is that onboard mentorship is always very effective. Now, let me get this right. Captain Andre made the point about mentorship. When onboard mentorship happens, there's nothing like it. It's brilliant. It's the only way to do certain things. We have all been taught by our seniors. But there are psychological barriers to it, because asking questions for a young generation seafarer is putting them in a spot and making themselves vulnerable. Now, many seafarers are scared to make themselves vulnerable, especially if a junior seafarer has been put down or ridiculed for asking a question. He is far less likely to go back and ask that same question as opposed to the generations before. There are also cultural barriers, language issues, interpersonal problems, wrong mentorship, seniors not knowing what they have to teach, and so on and so forth. So we could help with smarter tools and smarter guides to educate them with on-the-job skills, things that cannot be explained using written procedures and checklists. Attention span, of course, is at an all-time low. There was a Microsoft study in 2015 that said attention span is only about a few seconds right now, which means that you have to engage them every few seconds if you want to hold their attention. But with that also comes the ability that today we are faster in doing multitasking. We can shift our focus from one thought to another with less friction and less delay between the thoughts. So that's something that has happened over the last 10 to 15 years. Coming to learning methods, interactive digital learning methods using technology as an enabler is interesting. Self-education, autonomy, flexibility in learning, the do-it-yourself ethos, personalized learning, customized learning that is tailor-made to your needs as opposed to a cookie-cutter approach that everybody should pass through. That's interesting. And that brings me to my third myth, which is going to sound probably very, very counterintuitive, is that we feel that technology is interesting to the younger generation. And why I'm saying this is a myth is, see, technology is interesting to you if you have lived the era before technology. My 1-year-old son will never know a world where he cannot see his father on the phone. Having his father on the phone to see and see a video of his father is just how phones work. That's not technology. That's nothing different in it. So just because you have spent this $2 million putting the best VR gadgets and the best equipments on board does not guarantee success, does not mean that people will be even interested in it. And I've worked with some of the best VR companies and the AI companies. They know it very, very closely. It's beyond technology. What engages is the creativity. When they enter the world through that gadget, what are they seeing? Is that interesting? Is there creative storyboarding inside that? Is somebody thinking of what that content looks like? Because that's more interesting. That is what engages us. So I want to come down to some sharp, direct, and smart solutions to demonstrate how actionable learning might work. So smart apps that we have used on board, dividing the vessel into physical areas, essentially giving them direct and impactful mentorship, showing them, visualizing the entire operations for them in short chunks, keeping within their attention span, authentic content that is taken on board, and a direct approach to mentorship. Senior officers consistently give us this feedback that it saves them time, adds to efficiency, and the juniors say that it helps them jump into their jobs and help them learn at their own pace. Another solution I can talk about is a maritime AI, which by a show of hands, how many here are using ChatGPT on a regular basis? Awesome. So if you have used ChatGPT, this is an AI bot that can learn your procedures, your techniques, essentially thousands of pages of your manuals, and talk back to you like a human being. So it's a very direct answer, direct question, direct answer kind of an approach. There are immense possibilities here. You can get the entire main engine manuals into it, and it can act as a troubleshooting bot for the chief engineer. You could have training, a cadet could ask a question like explain a safety contour like I'm a 10-year-old. You could use it for customizing mentorship, like creating a training outline specific to a certain company on SIRE 2.0 for second officers, for example. You can use it as procedure enhancement tools and so on. Now, these are not just possibilities, these are realities. We are working on these models already. In fact, last month I was in London presenting to the OCIMF, and turns out that this application-focused approach that we are taking to upgrade the skill levels of the seafarers is extremely relevant in the light of SIRE 2.0. Now, I want to leave you with 4 cardinal principles to engage the younger generation. Being accurate with the information that we are giving them. We cannot go wrong there. We have to be absolutely impeccable in the information that we are giving them. Using technology as an enabler, adaptable technology, scalable technology that almost has the effect of fading out into the background while the user accesses the content. And what kind of content? Content that is relatable, that resonates with the younger generation, that's engaging to the younger generation. And even if we have all these 3 right, there's a 4th component which is very important. Be consistently taking feedback loops, because your first iteration of anything might not be the right one. So we have to be very organic in taking feedbacks, especially from the younger generation of seafarers, if we have to understand their pulse. So I want to leave you with this one thought, that if we are mindful of the pulse of the young generation of seafarers, we would be far more effective with the same amount of money, time, and energy we spend than otherwise. Thank you.